of the effects and impact of actually having to have, cutting off of the clitoris. And we have an expert in the studio this morning who is going to be doing justice to FGM and, of course, tell us some of the side effects of some of this development itself. We have Mr. Olagoke-Adaramoye. Of course, he's a specialist on this very instance. Thank you so much for joining us on this program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, looking at this development, you have been on the field for a long time when it comes to the issue of FGM. You have an encounter with those who carry it out. You've also seen victims. Now, let's look at the lives of those who actually have to go through all of this. We know there are some grandparents who still believe that if that clitoris isn't removed, that child cannot be a responsible child. Look at you from the angle of promiscuity.
Yes.
And of course, if that happens, the child will have to live with whatever consequences that comes up with it. Can you give us a scenario of what plays out on the field?
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, viewers at home. Well, FGM practice is actually an age-long practice. Unfortunately, nobody can ascertain the source where FGM started from or how it started or whatever. But what research has been able to point out is that it is embedded in our culture. It is in our tradition. So it's a belief, it's a myth. And actually, this people said it's part of religion, it's this, it's that. But unfortunately, no religion supports it. Because we've had meetings with religious leaders and all of that. It's in the Bible. There is nowhere you can find female genital mutilation. The Muslims also said it's not in the Holy Quran. And then the traditionalists themselves said in their Odu Ifa, the female genital mutilation is not there. So, but actually people have so many beliefs. Let me give you a scenario of what played out in one of the neighboring communities that I wouldn't want to mention their names. Okay, so there is this man who is an elderly man who is a prominent circumciser. So one of these days, during our visit, our community intervention, and then so we were just talking. So I asked him, how did this thing started? And then he was like, he too doesn't know. But that what he could remember was that there used to be a woman in that particular community who gave birth 7 times. They call it abiku. They say stillbirth in English. So this time she gives birth and then the girl dies and all of that. So they were now wondering, it's in the era of all these ile alawo nishegun when they don't really patronize hospitals and all of that. So it was like, okay, so this year when the woman gives birth and then the baby dies, they shave her hair, trying all possible ways to see if they can come up with something. So so it was like the year they cut that part, the clitoris, was the 7th time now. Was now when she gave birth and then the baby survived. So it became a belief in that particular community that, okay, it is this clitoris that is killing a baby. So I asked further that, okay, before then, were there people who were not circumcised and then they gave birth successfully? He said yes. So I now asked, were there people who were circumcised who still gave birth to the so-called abikus? He said yes. But then, because it's their trade, that will bring more patronage for them. So they found a way around it to say it is this thing that is killing the baby. So now, when mothers bring their daughters for these circumcisers, they cut the clitoris or whatever they want to cut away from the girl, and then now the parent pays a token. I don't know how much it was then, but now it's 1,500 a token, just 1,500.
So cut off the clitoris.
Yes, it's just 1,500, and then 1,500 they give them snails, they bring yam, and then they start thanking them, hoping that they have rescued their daughter from whatever could have happened to her in the future.
But what is this thing that they are actually afraid of from happening to the child? Apart from the fact that you created a scenario that the clitoris was removed because the woman has lost a number of babies, and of course they hold on to the belief that that clitoris has been causing the deaths of those children. But beyond that, why would any right-thinking person think that if you remove the clitoris, for what purpose?
Thank you. This thing it's embedded in gender inequality. You know, everybody has the right to enjoy sex, whether male or female. Now, let's look at the physiological function of the female reproductive organ. This particular thing they caught, they usually tamper with 3 major organs, which is the clitoris, the labia minora, and the labia majora. The Yorubas call it the abala wemeji, and then the clitoris, the Yorubas call it ido. Now, what they do is, physiologically, what this does is, the clitoris is what assists the woman to have sexual satisfaction. And then this labia minora and labia majora, what they do is to protect that opening
from germs,
just like the lips protects the mouth. So those are the functions majorly. Now, for a man, when a man is circumcised, the crown that comes out is what aids the man to have sexual satisfaction, as the case may be. So when you circumcise a man, you bring out that thing. Now, when you do that for a woman, when you mutilate her, the woman, what you do is to cut away that part that allows her to have sexual satisfaction because of some beliefs. One of which is the belief if that clitoris is not cut, the woman will be promiscuous. No, it's a lie. Because I do ask people in the community, you know, without even going into sciences or what research says and all of that. Now, I ask them, okay, you are talking about ladies being promiscuous. Now, there were days, in the olden days, when almost every of our mothers, our great-grandmothers, were genitally mutilated. They still have all those Yoruba words that they say, okoko okunkobod. And then I ask them, so when you say okoko okunkobod, what does it mean? So it means the woman is promiscuous. And yet she has been genitally mutilated, circumcised in their own language. So it doesn't take that promiscuity away from her. And then to now worsen the matter, they will say, then when they now see a woman who is actually very, very promiscuous, they will say, Ajatigbe ido elo. So now I ask them. What does that mean? So it means, okay, so the woman is very, very promiscuous, and then, you know, it's one of these ways, Yorubas, you know, Yorubas, we have a way of beautifying things and all of that. So they will say, Ajagbe ido elo, which means dog has actually taken that part of the clitoris that they cut. That is why she's promiscuous. Now think about this. So if that part is not cut away,
how do we now deal with the issue of myth and mythology?
Okay, so this is one of the ways. So now, like I said in communities, when I ask them these questions, they themselves will now be the ones to be coming out to say, this thing is actually a myth, is a lie. They will now start telling you, Omo Yakini can married as a virgin, and she wasn't genitally mutilated. Kiniko in Isole Oja that was genitally mutilated. Go and look at her life. She's very, very promiscuous. You see, the thing is, most parents, I mean, we are losing values. That's just the bottom line. Morals, education is missing. And then we'll now find a way to shift blame. And now say it's because she's not genitally mutilated. Some will go further to say, if this person, if she's not genitally mutilated, if that clitoris touches the head of a baby during childbirth, the baby will die.
Yeah, but really, if you look at all of this explanation, now a woman cannot actually be promiscuous on her own. There must be another partner,
which is a man.
So it means that the man isn't promiscuous.
So that's why I said,
so it's only the woman that will have to be promiscuous.
Yeah, so this thing is, it's still embedded in gender inequality. You know, these two persons have this, whatever they can have together, and then this one goes scot-free, and then you now take all the bulk of the blame and put it on this person. Then at the end of the day, one of the consequences of female genital mutilation is the woman may not enjoy sex ever again. You know, it's not like the nails that you cut and then it grows back. When it is cut away, the part is gone. Some women experience dryness just because of all of these things. And so the man will now start complaining again. And then the reason why some men have 2, 3, 4 wives is because this one is not responding during sex, and because they have genitally mutilated, because of the man has been removed. And then the man now goes all out again to now look for another woman. Now, this man that I made reference to in a neighboring community that I said is a prominent cutter, married from Ijebu, a community where they don't cut. Had girls that were not cut.
And so he knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing. And then he has been in the business of cutting all other people's daughter. So they know the truth. They know the truth. Clitoris does not kill a baby. Whether you cut away the clitoris or not does not mean a girl will be promiscuous or not. The difference is just the morals. What do you pass across to your girls? We have seen so many people that are caught. Okay, so there was actually a research. You know, when an international organization like UNICEF wants to ascertain a level of something and all of that. So they did this research in the 5 joint program states, or your Ekiti.
Okay, let me just tell our viewers, because they're already calling into the program, that you have to turn down the audio level of your TV set or move away from it while you're trying to call into the program. And of course, you tell us your name and where you're calling from. Let's see if we'll get through with this. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Okay, we hope to have that caller back. All right. Okay. I was actually going to be looking at the health hazard here.
Okay.
What are some of the health hazards? Because I know that instances are that we've seen pictures, we've seen videos of how some of these incisions are being done. For instance, blades, they are reused on several other people. And now, if that happens, what are some of the health hazards here?
Okay, thank you very much. Before we move into this, I think it's better we look at what this FGM of a thing is all about, and then the types, and that gives us an inclination to the health hazards, because the health hazards are enormous. But I will just mention a few. Okay, so the World Health Organization defines female genital mutilation as the partial or total removal of the external female genitalia for non-medical reasons. Underline the word non-medical reasons. Okay, so for every other reasons aside from the medical reasons. Okay, so there are 4 types. The type 1 is what we are all familiar with, which is clitoridectomy, where you cut away the clitoris, either partially or totally. And then there is another type that is called excision. Now, this second type, you either cut the clitoris away, totally or partially, and then you now cut the labia minora and the majora with it. Sometimes they leave the clitoris, they cut the labia minora and the majora, because some people believe that particular part, which is the labia minora and the majora, is not beautiful. So a man should not see it, or a man should not touch it during sexual intercourse. Look at these reasons. Now, they because of that, cut away the parts. So then there is another type, which is the peak of it. They call this one infibulation. Now, during infibulation, they may cut the clitoris, the labia minora, and the labia majora. Okay,
please, let's pick this one. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, please. What's the name and where are you calling us from?
My name is William.
Okay, please go ahead.
The treatment information is not something to speak over the topic. The most traditional value, most traditional is that the treatment is it has a lot of diseases, especially among women, very young girls, 55. this is the of our culture that need to be, get it. It can over the opposed. Without the individual or the girl or the parent. It's very clear. Thank you very much. And more like not to be done. So that people will know the damage they are doing themselves.
All right, we are in the process of that enlightenment.
Okay,
Maybe I
so
should just let
if I
you
get
run
that,
on
it was trying to talk about. Okay, so the third part, the type 3 that I was talking about, which is infibulation. Now, this type involves the cutting of the labia minora and the labia majora, those two parts. And then sometimes they cut the clitoris as well. Now, after all these cuts, they take needle and thread. They suture these openings. They now leave a very small hole on the part. In fact, so most of the times they use cotton board. And then after they have sutured it, they tie the girl's leg, and then she will be on one position for at least 2 weeks for that part to heal up.
All right, let's take this. Hello, good morning. All right, I guess you are not prepared for us. You have to turn down the audio level of your TV set when you're doing that.
Okay, so after they've sutured, like I said, they tie the lady's leg. She'll be on that one position for at least 2 weeks. Now, they believe that part has healed up. If she was able to urinate without feeling pain, that is when they will set her free. Now, a lady in one position, that's where she does all of the things that she wants to do. Now, this small opening they leave behind is just for the lady to urinate, and then when she becomes of age, she can menstruate through this small opening. So that tells us
there is no plan for procreation for her to actually go into
when
family
it's
life.
time for procreation. Actually, when it's time for her to get married, what they do again is what is called de-infibulation. That's when she's now of age. They will now go back and cut that part open again. Look at the damage, the level of damage. Now, those people doing all of these things are not trained or professional health workers. They are being done by the locals. Unsterilized objects, an environment where you can't vouch for, and all of that. So they cut this part open. The major reason why they do this is because they want their daughter to marry as a virgin. Now, for somebody who doesn't have opening underneath, how is she going to have sex? So most of these people are those that were referred to as lakiri boto in Yoruba in those days. So these things has been done, and then take for example a girl of 2-3 years having that done on her, and then the parent dies before she becomes of age, because we had that story a lot. People say they were 2 years, 3 years when their mother and father died, and then a lady who has not come to the awareness of what has been done to her when she was young. And then when she becomes of age, what do we call her? They will say it's lakri boto, she doesn't have opening, she doesn't have this. Think about what they are doing to all of these people. So that is infibulation. Now, the fourth type is unclassified. Now, when the campaign started, we started talking about cutting and all of that. So some people are trying to outsmart. They will say, at least we don't want to cut. So what they do under this type is, some people pick Vaseline. When the lady is of maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they start massaging that particular part, which is the clitoris, to ensure that they kill all the cells. Some people use hot palm kernels. They take palm kernels, they put it inside fire. When it is hot, they use it to desensitize that clitoris, to ensure that the organ is just there. It's not responding anymore. They have deadened it. Now, another one under this type is, we are now in the age of fashion and all of that. Remember, the definition includes any harm done to the female genitalia. So people now we've seen people that pierce the clitoris and put ring. What you have done to that particular part is you have altered its function. And then in some culture in this our country, the Yorubas will say "Yiwu mi owo." Some people believe that this labia minora and the majora is not beautiful enough to be under a lady. They cut it away. So another culture believes that part needs to grow very, very big so that it can aid the entry of the male sexual organ during sexual intercourse. So when the lady starts menstruating, what that culture teaches her is start pulling it every morning during birth, when you want to have your birth. So start pulling these two organs, the labia minora and the majora. And then if you have this finger and then every morning you start pulling it like this for 10 years, I'm sure it won't be the same size with this. And then that part grows bigger. Remember, some people doesn't want it. Another type of people believes. So that tells us it's just all about our beliefs.
But this belief system, what harm has it done to us, especially those that have been circumcised in this kind?
A lot. Number one of which is bleeding to death, hemorrhage. It's not like they prepare a theater or it's being carried out by professionals. Now health workers are doing it. Few of them. That's what they call medicalization of FGM. Because some mothers actually believe this has to be done. And then there are few health workers. Take for example, if I'm a doctor, I came out from a community. I'm part of a culture and tradition. So I might believe in FGM, despite the fact that the field of medicine does not support all of this. The Hippocratic Oath is against this. But because I'm from a culture, I might believe this. So there are few people, and then some people are doing it because of money. So that's what they call medicalization of female genital mutilation. Now, when this part is cut, some people bleed to death. In fact, a whole lot of mothers in communities have come out to narrate their experiences, how they lost children to female genital mutilation. And then, it was this man that I spoke with that I said is in a neighboring community, not far from us in Ibadan, that actually told me that there is this adage that they say, "Omo itowo onikolaku," that a child does not die in the hand of a circumciser. So it was not like when the actual reason why they say that adage is because when they cut and then the girls start bleeding and there is nothing they can do about it, what they actually use to stop a girl from bleeding, those people, the locals, is what we call arches. Some use the water that comes out from a snail, because the Yorubas,
which is not hygienic.
The Yorubas believe that so they use imagine all of these things. So germs, whatever would have entered. So when they start bleeding, they will say, "Take your child and go home." And then the lady gets home. Whatever wants to happen to the lady happens to the lady, to the girl, in her mother's or his father's jurisdiction. So take her, let her go and die at home. So they will now say, "Omo itowo onikolaku," she will get to their house before she dies. So they know. Then another one is there might be dislocation. Now when a lady is I'm sure you've seen videos and pictures, when they actually want to circumcise a child, most of these mothers don't stay at the scene or at the point. They just drop the girls and run away. So it takes a minimum of 5 people to hold a girl, especially if she's of age.
What are the penalties here? Are there penalties?
There are. Oyo State has 2 laws now prohibiting female genital mutilation. The country Nigeria has a law prohibiting female genital mutilation as well. And then the medical bodies also have a law that goes against female genital mutilation, as it's not part of the ethics of their practice. So take for example in Oyo State, for hearing, you heard about, probably it's your daughter, and then you told me you were going to circumcise her or genitally mutilate her.
So he's a conspirator.
And then I didn't report you to the appropriate authority. I might be jailed.
For conspiracy?
Yes. Or I pay a fine. Or if I'm the one that gave you that advice that this girl is of age, she needs to be circumcised. Both of us. Even the mother. The parents, the mother, the circumciser, people that passed by and saw them and didn't report to the appropriate authority. They are either liable to jail term or a fine of 200,000 or both. And
so what happens to grandparents sometimes that would not even tell the parent because they feel that the parent will not allow, and they feel that this my granddaughter must pass through because they passed through at their time.
So that is where we really need to focus on. Now there is law, but there has not been prosecution. Because we Yorubas, we still believe it go today washore. So I wouldn't want to report my mother-in-law.
Hello, good morning. All right, your TV set is too loud. Can you reduce the volume?
Hello?
Yes, have you done that? Yes, please. What's the name of welcome?
Good morning.
Good morning. Please go ahead. What's the name and where you calling us from? Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. No, this program, I love this program very much, but I advise you to try to make this program for your language, because this thing, all this thing you are talking of is really Yoruba people too much. I want to make
but other cultures to do it, not just the Yorubas. We mustn't have a stereotype view here. Other cultures too do it. Thank you so much for actually bringing that up. I think it's not just predominant in one area, so that we don't get that wrong.
In Nigeria, we have, according to the research, the prevalence rate, we have 5 states where these things are, where they have high prevalence, and that's where UNICEF is working at the moment. We have Imo State, we have Ebonyi, we have the Oyo State, we have Osun and Ekiti. These are the 5 states where FGM has highest prevalence rate.
Okay. In Yoruba, just because we have to round up this interview, in Yoruba, because he is said, obviously, of course, we are in Oyo State, but as part of the admonition, because I know that the grandparents may not understand the background, but we have specialized Yoruba program too, or on this station itself, but this is an English program. But we still seize the opportunity that you're here because you're an expert on this field and you meet with them. There's some grandparents that are watching, and of course they know to an extent what you're discussing, but as a sign and a note of warning, what do you tell them?
Ohun tí màá sọ fún àwọn tó ń wò wá nílé, pàápàá jùlọ àwọn tó jẹ́ elédè Yorùbá bíi tèmi, ó ní wípé ẹ̀kọ́ ni kẹ́ jẹ́ ká fún àwọn ọmọ wa. Abẹ́dídá fún ọmọbìnrin kọ́ ló ń dènà kọ́ ọmọbìnrin ó ṣe ṣìnà. Abẹ́dídá ò ní kọ́ ọmọbìnrin ó bímọ kú. Abẹ́dídá fún ọmọbìnrin ò sì ní pé ó bu ìkún obìnrin, ó túbọ̀ ń gbà kúrò lára iyì tóbìnrin yẹn ni. Ẹ̀kọ́ ni kẹ́ jẹ́ ká kọ́ àwọn ọmọ wa kí wọ́n bá hùwà tí yóò tọ́ lọ́jọ́ iwájú. Ẹ̀yin ìyá wa náà lẹ máa ń sọ láyé ìgbà yẹn. Ẹ ní pé ọkọ kan òkú kọ́ńbọ́ọ̀dù fóbìnrin. Obìnrin tẹ́ bá lọ́kọ kan òkú kọ́ńbọ́ọ̀dù fún, ó túmọ̀ sí pé ó ń ṣe ṣìnà ni. Ó túmọ̀ sí wípé abẹ́ tí a dá fún kò dènà kó má ṣe ṣìnà. Èyí tó bá tún wá mọ́wọ́ ṣìnà ìlójú pálí, ẹ̀yin ìyá wa náà lẹ máa ń sọ wípé ajá ti gbé idọ̀ rẹ̀ lọ ni. Tí a bá gé idọ̀, ó túmọ̀ sí pé ajá ò ní gbé idọ̀. Èyí nǹkan tó lè túmọ̀ sí lójú tèmi ní ìwòye tèmi ni wípé abẹ́ tí a dá fún rú ọmọ yẹn gan òun ló jẹ́ kó ṣe ṣìnà. Nítorí pé tí a bá gé, ajá ò ní gbé. Ṣùgbọ́n ohun tó yẹ ká fún àwọn ọmọ wa pàápàá jùlọ òun ni ẹ̀kọ́ tó péye tí wọn ò fi ní ṣì ìwà wù. Ẹ jẹ́ á tọ́jú àwọn ọmọ wa. ká kọ́ wọn lẹ́kọ̀ọ́. Let's give them proper education.
So this iṣẹ́ abẹ, like you said, àbí gígé abẹ.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
What does it do in Yoruba? Like what are some of the consequences here?
Lára ohun tí abẹ́ dídá fọ́mọbìnrin tó máa ń fà fún ọmọbìnrin, ó ní pé àkọ́kọ́ ẹ̀jẹ̀ àìdá tó lè mú kọ́mọbìnrin ó kú, kó gbabẹ̀ kú. Ìkejì, ó ní pé apá lè kan, ẹsẹ̀ lè kan níbi tá a ti ń di ọmọ mú mọ́lẹ̀ láti rí wípé wọ́n fẹ́ dábẹ́ fún ọmọ yẹn náà máa dúra láti bẹ̀, apá lè kan, ẹsẹ̀ lè kan. Ewu tó tún wà ńbẹ̀ ó ní wípé ọmọ yẹn ó lè dọjọ́ iwájú kó ní ìnira àti tọ̀ tàbí láti ṣe nǹkan oṣù. Another one tún ni wípé tó tiẹ̀ wá wọ́pọ̀ jù tó ń da ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìdílé rú, òun ni ti bí ìbálòpọ̀. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn obìnrin wa ló jẹ́ pé ara wọn yìí gbé mọ́ nítorí abẹ́ tí a ti dá fún wọn. Ọkọ wọn á sì rò pé bóyá torí nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí wọn, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn ní òní ìmọ̀ tí ò ní òye. Wọ́n á rò pé ìyàwó wọn ní nǹkan ṣe, àwọn náà bá túbọ̀ síta, wọn á fòkè rajà. Lára ẹ̀ ni ohun tí olóyìnbó ń pè ní keloid àti cyst, èyí tí àwa Yorùbá máa ń pè ní ayídínà. Kò sí ohun tó ń jẹ́ ayídínà o. Abẹ́ tí wọ́n dá, ara yàtọ̀ sí ara. Ẹlòmíì tí abẹ́ kékeré bá gé, ara ẹ̀ máa so kókó ni. So tójú ara ẹ̀ tí wọ́n gé yẹn á wá tún so kókó, àtúwá orúkọ fún aláyídínà ni. Wọ́n tún lè torí bẹ́ẹ̀ gan kan máa fi ìyà jẹ obìnrin yẹn. Wọ́n á ní pé ó lẹ́mẹ̀rẹ̀ ni, ó lẹ́gbẹ́ ni, òun ló jẹ́ ká bẹ́ẹ̀ so kókó. Láì mọ̀ wípé abẹ́ tí a dá fún ọmọ òun ló fà á. Ìwí tó wá burú jù ń bẹ̀, òun ni ewu tó wà níbi àti bímọ. Ẹ lọ bí àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ elétò ìlera wa, obìnrin tí a dábẹ́ fún àti èyí tí a ò dábẹ́ fún, èwo ló máa ń tètè bímọ jù. Wọ́n á jẹ́ kó yé wa wípé àwọn èyí tí wọn ò dábẹ́ fún àti bímọ máa ń tètè rọ̀ wọ́n lọ́rùn wọ́ọ́rọ́wọ́. Nítorí pé bọ́lọ́run ṣe dá ojú ara yẹn ni wípé kó ràn kọ́mọ ó lè jáde. Ṣùgbọ́n tá a bá ti mú abẹ́ yẹn tá a dá, ojú àpá ò lè jọ ojú ara mọ́. A wá di pé ojú ara yẹn kálẹ̀ kò ní lè ràn bó ṣe yẹ kó ràn. A wá fa ohun tá olóyìnbó ń pè ní prolonged labour. Nígbà míì ojú aya gan tiẹ̀ lè ya. Àbí tó bá wá jẹ́ pé ibi tó tiẹ̀ wá burú jáì dáadáa, òun ló ń tà ń pè ní fistula, tí lé ojú ara ọmọbìnrin ó lè jápọ̀ mọ́ ibi tó ọmọbìnrin ti máa ń yàgbẹ́ lásìkò tó bá ń rọbí nítorí abẹ́ tí a ti dá fúnrú ọmọ bẹ́ẹ̀. Bákan náà ni láwọn àsìkò tá à ń dábẹ́, àwọn kòkòrò tá ò fojú rí tó lè wọ ojú ara ọmọbìnrin ó wọ́pọ̀. Pàápàá jùlọ bọ́lọ́run ṣe dá ọmọbìnrin ó yàtọ̀ sọ́kùnrin. Ọkùnrin ni ò lè ní àrùn lára bí àrùn ìbálòpọ̀ kó gbé fún odidi ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì. Obìnrin míì lè gbé tiẹ̀ lógún ọdún kó má farahàn. Ó lè ṣokùnfà kọ́mọbìnrin yẹn ó ní kó kàgbákò àti tètè róyún ní àbí láti bímọ lọ́jọ́ iwájú. Àwọn ewu tó wà ńbẹ̀ ó pọ̀ jàǹtì rẹ̀rẹ̀.
All right, because we have to go. So what are the parting shots in English now?
Okay, thank you very much. So my parting shot in English will only be, please parents, let's give our girls proper training, proper education, and then let's build good morals. We are losing value. Let's not look for excuses for our failure. FGM does not prevent a girl from being promiscuous. The Ijebus don't cut, yet they still have their lives. We believe in so many things, but please, let's find the facts. Let's ask questions. Most of us that are doing it is because they did it from my grandmother. My grandmother did it from my mother.
So it has become a rigid.
So it's now something that is being passed from one generation to another. And so if we can put an end to some age-long harmful practices, we can put an end to female genital mutilation. All right, we can
go on and on. Mr. Olagoke-Adaramoye, thank you so much for your time on the program this morning. Of course, he's an expert when it comes to FGM here. And of course, that's the much we can take on this particular topic. And I'm sure that the information is out there and the suggestions, recommendations, and the health hazard of actually having FGM being done for the female folks here has actually been taken as a matter of fact. All right, we'll take this break, and when we come back, we'll be having our last guest on the program. Please stay with us.